Hello everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be using the graphic technology to solve a system of linear equations. Alright, so we're going to do this one here. We have, again, their standard form. So we're going to, using graphic technology, you have to be in y equals, as you guys are aware. So we're going to rearrange these formulas. So the first one, we'll rearrange here. Take the x over to the other side. So let's recopy the equation, right? Take the x over the other side. So when we do that, we subtract the x from both sides. Okay. I'm going to use my program, that's way better. Okay, so we have 2y equals negative x plus 8. Okay, so just be mindful of the negative now, right? Because it was positive on the left hand side, so if I subtract from both sides now, it's going to be a negative. Then I'm going to divide everything by 2. When I divide everything by 2, that's gone. And then we take that, divide it by 2, so it would be some people like to see the slope, right? So it'll be like 1 negative 1 half x, and then divide that by 2, and then 8 divided by 2 will be 4. So there's your first equation. That's going to be what's called y1 on your graphic calculator. Do the same thing here. All right. So we need to rearrange our formula. So now we're going to end up with 4y, and then the 3x comes over the other side, so it's minus 3x, and then it's still plus 20. Divide everything by 4 in the second equation, right? So when we divide the equation by 4, 4 is gone. This would be all things divided by 4, right? And you put the x, sometimes you'll see the numerator, or sometimes you'll see it outside, doesn't make a difference. And then if 20 divided by 4 would be 5. So those are your two equations. To use the graphing technology, they have to be in this form, okay? So then we're going to go to our graphing calculators. All right, so remember when you get your graphing calculator, someone probably used it before you. So you just hit clear everything, and hit second function plus, which is memory, 7, reset, 1, all RAM, 2, reset, clears everything. So then we're going to put these in our graphic calculators. So the first equation was negative 1 half x plus 4, so we got y equals, and then alpha second function, or, sorry, second function alpha, I can't remember what it was anyway. You get the numerator and denominators. Second function, no. It wasn't it either. Anyway, just hit math, arrow over to frac, numerator, denominator. So it's going to be actually negative 1 half x plus 4 was the first one. The second one is going to be negative 3 half x, sorry, negative 3/4 x plus 5. Put a negative in first, and then math, frac, and D gives you numerator down there. Oops, sorry about that. Like I showed you in class. And then put your numerators 3, denominators 4, x plus 5. You're going to graph both of these, hitting the graph button, and there are the two lines, and then they have this intersection point. The intersection point is the solution. So to find this on your graphing calculator, you hit second function, calc, which is second function trace. The calc, you're going to calculate, and then you're going to go down to option number 5, and you hit intersect, hit enter. Then you want to just use your left and right cursor to get towards the intersection point. That's close enough. You'll notice it's blue here. First curve is blue. Hit enter. It automatically jumps up. The cursor jumps up to your second curve, which is the red. And you hit enter, and then hit enter for a third and final time to guess. And the intersection point is at 4 and 2. So the solution is the coordinate 4 and 2. I mean, you could see that on your graph calculator, but I just wanted to show that to you. Okay? And then there's your graph. Okay. And that's what you're going to see in your notes. All right. So you would just sketch that in the space provided, something similar to what you see here. Okay. And that's it. That's all it's to it. Okay. So when you're using the graphic technology, right, remember, a few little notes here. Both equations need to be in slope intercept form, right? So you guys are aware, y equals mx plus b, right? I'll put that in there just to make sure you remember what slope-intercept form is. So y equals mx plus b. Well, it doesn't really have to be slope-intercept form, but y, like in y equals, so I normally just put it, that's what it's going to change to, right? And then you graph both equations, and you find the intersection point. Okay? So to do that, we go, we hit y equals for the equations, right? So we hit 1, y equals, put both equations in, okay? All right, as you saw in the video, okay? You guys, I don't need to write them out. You're going to be in class, I'm going to show you anyway, okay? Let's look at the next example. This one here is a word problem. It doesn't have the equations, so you got to come up with the equations again like we did in the first two sections and then graph. So Kenny School has a carnival to celebrate the Festival de Beaujeu. The school raised $1,518.75 by charging an adult $375 and a student $250. What's the total attendance? So that's going to be similar to what we did in the last chapter. Okay. So we're going to let S equal the number of students and A equal the adults. Okay. And now we're going to come up with the two equations. So the first equation, all right. First equation is going to be the easier of the two, which would be just S plus A equals 520, right? Or A plus S. It might A plus S. Adults came first in this one, so we'll go A plus S equals 450. That's equation 1. And then the second equation is the one with the money involved. So each student is 375, so 3.75 times the adult cost, right? Sometimes I like to put the variables italicized here. Just me. Okay. And then we're going to have to add the charge for the students, which is 250. You can put 2.5, but it's 2.50 because we're dealing with money. And then that's S, that's the charge number of students. And then that total is going to equal 1587 or $1,518.75. And you don't need a dollar sign. So there's this, and that's the second equation. All right. So we like to name our equations. All right. Equation 1, equation 2, just when we're referring back to them. Okay. So the second thing is put them in slope-intercept form. So if we call A the adults and S the students, so then what we're going to do is we're going to put these into slope-intercept form. I'm gonna keep it consistent, so I'm going to actually split these. My apologies. No big deal though. Okay. So A is the adults. We'll put that on the x-axis just because it came first, and y is the students. Again, it doesn't make a difference. It's not going to make a difference at all, but it's just to be consistent with what they did up here. Okay. So the first one would obviously be S is equal to, right? So the first equation, and then we're going to change that in, and if we used y as a student, so then we'll just go S is equal to subtract A from both sides. But what we want to do is we like to keep the in slope-intercept form, right? So it'll be 520, right? So that means there's going to be an x and y intercept of 520, right? Like we did last time, okay? But this is what you're going to put in your equation. So basically, what you need is to change them for your calculator, because it doesn't have a and x, right? So you'll be entering in, because y is s, y is equal to negative x plus 520. Do the same thing with the second formula, okay? All right, we're going to solve for s here. So we're going to subtract the 375 from both sides, right? And we usually want to put it in slope-intercept form. Oh, sorry. And obviously it's going to the opposite side, so it's going to be negative, right? And then we divide everything by 250. So we divide everything here by 250. So 250 divided by 250 is 1, so we use just s, that's why we did it. Divide this by 250. I'm going to get my formula out here, sorry. Insert formula. Oh. So it would be s equals negative 3.75 divided by 2.50, right? Sorry, there's a little typo there. I apologize. That would be the 250 right here. It had to be divided by. My apologies. So, not the 3.75. So that would give us negative 1.5, and that would give us 18.75 divided by 250, 2.5, we get 607.5. Alright? So go to our graphic calculator, we'll plug those in, y equals, it'll be 607.5. Right, the window's got to obviously change, right? So we plug those two equations in. Alright, and when we do that, so there's equation 1 and there's equation 2, right? When we rearranged, plug those in, and we graph them, and we'll see that they're going to intersect. So we need to keep going over here with our values for our windows. Let's try 200, then we'll put the scale at 100 again. See if we can get the intersection point now. So we can see that's intersecting, right? Over here. So we do second function, calc, go down to hit 5 or intersect. Just do your cursor to the right until you get close. I mean, that's close enough. Hit enter. It jumps up to the second curve, hit enter, and hit enter for a third and final time. It's at 175 and 350. So X represents, if you go back, the number of adults, and Y represents the number of students. So that means it would be 175 adults and 345 students. There you go. Okay. And I'll just take a picture of that. And we'll do that again in class when we're working through. So there's your graph. All right. Text. There we go. There's just the graph of the situation. The graphing this line. Okay. So there's a couple of questions. It says determine the coordinates, which we did. The coordinates are 175 and 345, and that would be exact. You can't have approximate people, right? So those numbers would be whole numbers. So technically, when you're graphing these, you wouldn't really connect the data, but because the numbers are so large, we connect the show, right? So technically, it wouldn't. So that means this represents there are 175 adults and 345 students. Right? That's what it represents. How do you verify these? To verify these, I just plug them back in these original form questions, right? The original equations. So to verify that, I just plug those in. So A is the adults, right? So it's 175 plus 345, and that obviously equals 520. Okay, so 520 is equal to 520. So these kind of E and D are kind of done together, really. Just telling you what to do and then actually doing it in E. So put them in, and then we do the same thing with the original equation. Plug that in there. Do the same thing. Plug our values in for A. A was 175. So 3.75 multiplied by 175, and that gives you right, and our S is number of students is 345. All right. So that gives you 656.25, and then we take the 2.5, multiply that by 345, and that gives us 862.5, and we add those two together, and that gives us 18.75, both of 18.75. All right, so we're running out of time now, and that's it for this video. After your results, we did that. We already checked those results, how they worked out. So your homework is right there, and that's it. We're running out of time, so we'll see you in the next video. Thank you.